Yeah,
John,
thanks.
I'm interested in your attitude to Roosie. We know to Goodsy. We know he hurt his knee. Did you ever contemplate removing him from the ground?
Not really, Mike. I asked him probably 2 or 3 times during the course of the game how he was, and every time I asked him, he came back the comeback was, "I'm fine. Don't worry about me." And I was concerned about him. Obviously Nathan Gibbs told me that he'd done his posterior cruciate ligament, so I was concerned about him. But he said, "I've done the one in the other knee. Now it just means I've got 2 even knees," and he was fine. So look, he said he was 100%. Don't worry about me. He didn't offer any excuse. He went on the ground, and I thought he was magnificent.
We showed some vision before of the sort of Sewell, Mitchell versus O'Keefe Kennedy battle. Was it a case of trying the 2 big bodies? I suppose you suspected Sewell was going to go to Kennedy, but they teamed to work a little bit in tandem around the stoppages, Ryan and Josh. Yeah,
it's probably a fair comment, Roosie. I mean, we knew that Hawthorn have got some big bodies around those stoppages, and Sewell's been in terrific form, and so has Mitchell, and they've been absolute guns for Hawthorn, have been for a long period of time. So we wanted to get our bigger bodies in there, and Kennedy and O'Keefe are our 2 bigger bodies other than Goodsy in that midfield mix. We had Goodsy early in the midfield, but then once he hurt his knee, we had to push him forward, and then was left to really Ryan O'Keefe and Josh Kennedy to work in tandem against those 2. And I thought those, the Hawthorn boys still had a very good game. They were very good around the clearances, but I thought our boys played well as well.
There was a suggestion in one of the newspapers down here, John, that you had a long discussion with Stuart Dew at quarter time about it, that you were a little bit concerned at the way it was going.
Oh, you have discussions all the time, Jared. We were kicking against the wind in that first quarter, and I think people didn't realise how strong that wind was. When we went out before the game, we looked at the conditions, and it was quite strong going down to one end, and we talked about one back and all what we need to do against the wind. And we thought that obviously they had the momentum in that quarter. I spoke to Dewey at quarter time, but that's not unusual, and we thought that whilst they were winning the clearances, we wanted to keep the pressure on, and I thought our pressure enabled their clearances to be a little bit rushed. Even though they had an enormous amount of them, we were able to make sure that their quality of clearance was lessened somewhat.
You talked there a little bit, Horse, about the loose back. It seemed that they drove that in the first quarter. I think it was Hodge that started with a 7th defender. And it looked at quarter time that you guys may have adjusted that, and then maybe after half time they looked like they adjusted it, went 6v6.
Yeah, once again, Roosie, I mean, the conditions had a lot to do with it, and we were kicking against the wind and they were with the wind, and that first quarter we discussed what we do with Hawthorn obviously having the 7 defenders. We had a long discussion about it even during the course of the game, but we decided to stay as we thought. We keep our back 6 together, and obviously with the wind the next quarter we wanted to make the most of our opportunities if we could, and we're able to do that. And I thought the players didn't just use the wind then, they were able to be composed going forward and use the ball going forward, not just blaze away, and I thought that made a difference for us.
John, you took a massive risk with Shane Mumford with his hamstring. When did you make that final decision?
Our medical staff were always confident he was fine. I mean, he was sore on Thursday, and Gibbsy and Matty Cameron, our physio, always said to us that we're expecting to play, we think he'll be right. So that was the message I got on Friday, and that was the message I got on Saturday. So we were confident he was going to play, and we backed him in, and he played.
Tell us about your pride in Mike Pike. I mean, he's become a talking point here, but it was a phenomenal performance from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, for a player who's, with his background, the way he turned up, and Roosie knows that he turned up here with a tape of him scoring a try against the All Blacks, and mind you, it was a very good try. But no one expected him to take to it like he has. He's probably one of the best learners I've seen in the game. You've only got to show him once or twice what to do, and he's able to pick it up really quickly, and he's extremely dedicated. He spends as much time as any of our seasoned pros on his game, if not more, because he knows he has to. And I thought his performance on the weekend was fantastic. He was able to come into the team, and even when Mummy was subbed in the last quarter, I think he rucked 20-odd minutes unchanged in that last quarter in a grand final that was right down to the wire, so it's a real credit to him.
We just watched him score a try against the All Blacks. Now, he's run probably 80 metres and he's 6'8". It's an unusual combination, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I think he got that intercept pass off Dan Carter, one of the best Union players in the world, and to be able to do that at that size, I mean, that's what attracted us to him. And we sat down with Roosie and we looked at what his athleticism brought to the game, and we thought his best position for that size obviously was in the ruck, and if he was a competitor, which he was half a chance, and he's been fantastic.
And we saw a great run on the weekend, horse, young Lewis Jetta, who has an amazing capacity to run 1 yard ahead. And we always thought he was maybe the quickest bloke in the league. And this year, I think it's Dangerfield and took on Rioli on the weekend. But how pivotal has that been, his development this year? It's just given the team another presence, a real outside presence. How do you rate his season in relation to you guys winning the premiership?
Oh, he's been enormous. I mean, he's kicked 45, 50-odd goals, I think, for the year. And you know, we, as you know, we spoke a couple of years ago, we looked at our list and there was some criticism, obviously, about our outside run and spread, and we thought we had some really good insiders. We needed some outside run and spread. We went to the draft a couple of years ago, and with that in mind, we got Gary Rowan, who didn't play on the weekend, obviously, and Lewis Jetta, and, you know, his development this year has just been outstanding. I mean, we always thought he had the talent, but he's got a great work ethic and he's a really smart kid as far as his footy knowledge. He's fantastic. The senior players really trust him, and I think that's really come to the fore this year.
Coming into the game, Hawthorn's forward line looked as if it could blow you off the park if they were allowed off the chain. You gave two young blokes some responsibility. Nick Smith, of course, on Rioli, and I thought Alex Johnson was one of your better unsung heroes. So many intercept marks and launched a lot of attacks off that half-back line.
Yeah, they're two, I guess, lower profile players in our club, and that's outside the club. Internally, you know, we really value them, and Nick Smith plays on some of the best small forwards in the competition week in, week out, and I joke with him at times it mustn't be good to be Nick Smith on a Friday night during the football season, because you wouldn't have much sleep when you know you're playing on Milne and Betts and Stevie Johnson, all these top players, and he's able to do that really well and rarely gets beaten. He's such a competitor. He's a great kid. He's in our leadership group. He was fantastic on the weekend against one of the dangerous players in the competition. And Alex Johnson, a 20-year-old kid who I think we picked up at pick 57 in the draft. I think Kinnear Beats and picked him up, and he's tall, he's 6'3", and really quick and a competitor once again. You know, very handy attributes.
John, tell us about your exchange with Alex Johnson down at Geelong in round 23, three-quarter time. Quite animated for you.
Yeah, I don't do it too often, Mike, and it was just something that was happening during the game that we weren't happy with. A couple of little things I think that transpired during the course of that game. Nothing major, but it was just a little reminder about what we wanted to get out of him, and I think you got to pick your mark. And Alex is a terrific kid. He's pretty resilient for a 20-year-old, and we just pointed out a couple of things he needed to get better at that John Blake, his defensive coach, had been working with, and delivered that, and he was fine. He's had a terrific final series. I mean, I thought he was outstanding on the weekend.